What is up, Theology Nerds? This is Trip, and today we have a very special podcast. Not just one conversation, but two. Two conversations recorded live at Theology Beer Camp 2025 at Awaken Church in St. Paul, Minnesota. And first up is my friend Diana Butler Bass. She joins me and my co-host throughout camp this year, Sarah Heath, for a conversation about her brand new book out this week, if you're listening when this is live. A Beautiful Year. It's a spectacular book. It's peak Diana Butler Bass, and well, I'm not going to say too much because at the end of our conversation, I give what would have been my endorsement, you know, if I was cool enough to make the back of her book. But she's cool enough to get it live right there in front of 600 of our friends at camp. This was at the end of the opening night live, like late night show. And as it ends, she was going into a benediction, which, you know, was actually group karaoke of Bohemian Rhapsody, which is a copyright violation. So you're not going to hear us attempt Freddie Mercury, which is probably good for your earbuds. But in a group with everyone singing it, it was quite a bit of fun. So first up is Diana, and then my friends Andy and Cara Root about their new book on pilgrimage, parenting, and, you know, how not to suck at it in a world that might be pushing us away from faithful parenting of our offspring. Anyway, here we go. Sarah Heath and I talking to Diana Butler Bass.
If you don't know Diana Butler Bass's work, first of all, where you been? Incredible stuff. I was so honored to hear you speak. I am a United Methodist clergy member, and we have something. I hear
That's all
that.
the Methodists we have here? Okay.
Listen.
Now their heart's strangely warm. You give them free beer. It should have already been warm.
So I was at this convocation, and everyone was, and you were our keynote speaker.
I was.
And I will. Is it okay if I tell how we really met?
Sure. We were both cutting out of the conference at the same time.
And I might have been in the pool in a floaty because everyone else was in the meeting. It was Palm Springs. It was hot. And I'm in a floaty, and I think, oh, no, that's the speaker. And you're like coming in, and we both have Duke connections. And so I was like, hi. And you're like, aren't you supposed to be in there? I was like, aren't you? And then we ordered each other margaritas, and we spent the entire afternoon like sharing about theology and thoughts. And I already knew I adored you, but it was just such a humanizing experience to be with you in that moment. And then my friends came out, and they said, of course. When they saw me just like in a bikini drinking a margarita, like, hey, let's talk theology.
Well, you know, two Methodists in a pool in Palm Springs drinking margaritas.
It's
it just,
obvious. Who hasn't known that?
Right.
But I will say, there's another connection that you and I have that I didn't know was a thing. Gentlemen in the room, there's a bit of Tony, where's Tony? Yeah. There's a bit of a rumor that men think about Rome a lot. Is that?
Yeah.
Are any of you like Rome?
I saw Gladiator 6 times in the theater.
Are any of you Rome thinkers? Yeah, I see you. I didn't know that I was unique in my femininity and that I think about Rome like a lot.
all the time.
And I blame the movie Troy, and we can talk about why later, but that movie makes me think about Rome
Calf muscles.
like a lot. And in your book, you talk about the idea of Rome. What makes you so curious about Rome?
First thing that I'm thinking is, oh my gosh, she actually read the book that nobody has seen yet.
I got a little preview from someone. I haven't seen all of it. I've only seen part of it, and that's because of him.
But the new book is called, and Tripp wants to talk about this, so
we're going to talk about the name.
We are going to talk about the title, but it's based around the Christian year. And as part of the argument of the book actually begins with, how often do you think about the Roman Empire? And then I say, because my audience, I think the average age of my audience is like 65, 70.
Super young.
Super young, very young.
They aren't even old enough to be president yet.
So I explained at the beginning.
Or senator.
So I explained at the beginning of the book, I said, a couple years ago, there was this funny meme on, I just say the internet, because people won't know what Instagram or Twitter or any of those things are. And so I said, and what it was, and I explained the meme. And it turned out, according to this little exercise that people did for about 5 or 6 months, that men think about the Roman Empire all the time and women never do. And I was like, I'm watching this and I thought, why is this funny? I think about the Roman Empire all the time. And somebody finally said, well, didn't you notice that it was like a gender thing? And I thought, well, I'm always in the room with male theologians anyway.
I hear you, sister. I know that feeling. Yeah.
So it's like, no, it didn't strike me. It was a gender thing. And then, of course, I realized the reason I think about the Roman Empire all the time is because I'm a church historian. And you can't be a church historian and not think about the Roman Empire. And then in particular, because of this book, I think of the Roman Empire every single time I open up my phone, because all the months of the year are named after Roman emperors, Roman gods, or Roman numerals. And then most of the days of the week in English are named after similar type things. And it's like the time, people are always saying, oh, these are strange times and all this sort of stuff about time. But the times in which we live are actually an inheritance that's 2,000 years old. And ancient Rome shapes all of our days. And so it's like...
You've been thinking about Rome and not even knowing you've been thinking about Rome.
And so someone was asking me the other day what I was thinking about 4th of July 2026, because that's coming up, and historians, we have a lot of feelings. Really adopt a historian in advance of July 4th, 2026, because, it's going to be tough for all of us. But so I was saying, well, what do you mean, the 4th day of Julius Caesar? And that's really what we have going on here, is that July 4th is celebrated at the beginning of the month. It celebrates Julius Caesar. So why do we think we have a problem with empire in the United States?
The Roman Empire, guys, that's literally it. That's it. That's where we're at. Now, you named the book, though. You alluded to it.
Right.
But the title of the book is A Beautiful...
Oh, please don't say it, because it's so embarrassing. A Beautiful Year.
Hey, Diana, the
I
last
love it.
year has been so awesome and beautiful.
Has anyone felt like
Was your
2025
publisher
was a beautiful year?
completely thrilled that you named your book A Beautiful Year with nice bright colors, a yellow background, available for signage tomorrow?
It hasn't felt like a beautiful year, but your argument actually, when we think about...
Yeah, you're focused on the argument, I read books by the cover.
It has,
I actually do read the books.
Trip, it's my first book with flowers on the cover, too. And
Yeah.
so the first time I said that, I was actually on a stage with Robbie Jones, Jamar Tisby, and Kristen Dumais, my partners in the Convocation Unscripted podcast that we do. And so we were sitting at this pro-democracy rally last fall, which nobody apparently listened to.
Y'all were very careful not to endorse candidates.
That's right.
Even when you were at our church, because people
didn't.
love the Constitution and laws in the United States.
That's right. We were very careful to follow those rules. So anyway, someone asked the question, is what books are you working on? And Jamar said something, he's working on something about race and fascism, and then Robbie is working on something about white supremacy, and Kristen comes around and she's working on something on authoritarianism and Christian nationalism. And the question that comes to me, and I said, well, I just finished writing a book called A Beautiful Year.
And unicorns and rainbows.
I know, if we had that bit where the sky opens up in Monty Python and the head of God pops out and butts are shooting trumpets out, that's right where you do it.
And so that's what happened is everybody laughed at me. And I said, well, hey, wait a second. It's not like a Hallmark card. The argument that I'm making is that if we could embrace an alternate vision of time, would that actually matter in and for this moment of our social life, our political life, etc.? And so people who follow my Substack called The Cottage know that every Sunday I write a thing called Sunday Musings.
It's so good. It's
Thank
so
you.
good.
Thank you. And so my book isn't just telling you what you should think about the Christian year. What I do is I take readers around an entire year. And it's a great exercise in show and not tell in terms of what writers do. And throughout the whole book, I'm trying to get to, it's a little what Casper was just saying about his book. I'm trying to teach myself how to read the Bible differently and to read it in such a way that it can speak and give me courage and other people who are reading my words courage and strength and ground us, and try to figure out what do we do with this book, the Bible, at a time when it's been completely co-opted by people who are using it for purposes of violence and injustice.
Name the 3 bits.
The 3 things I do with it, and this is a part of my own journey, you know, as a human being, as a person who is a Christian as well. I have been striving in recent years to read the Bible differently. I just said that with my Substack. And the 3 ways that have meant most to me are reading it with an anti-imperial lens, so that goes back to that first question about the Roman Empire. The second one is with a feminist lens, and then the third one is with an environmental lens. And so I take this other set of readings, these frames, and I go through the entire lectionary of a single year, and I look at the story of Jesus, which is the first half of the lectionary, and then the second half of the lectionary during Pentecost is a story about us, people who are trying to follow Jesus. And I look at that in an anti-imperial, grounded, earthy, feminist way.
Oh, I don't know if she's read the book, but I have, and I'm excited about it. So excited that this Advent they can read it along with us. Y'all get an email in like a week and a half saying that if you want to hang out with Diana and I during Advent.
Yeah, we're going to do it.
It's going to be fun. Sarah, I know that you said you had a question. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I've just been thinking about the fact that, so within, obviously, American culture, and not just American culture, but sort of this Western idea, time is often like you're supposed to be a certain age, and either you're too young for that age or you need to go back to that age. And we're taught to, right, that's commercialism, right? We've got to, work towards that. How would you suggest, because this reading, it doesn't just it asks us to question this idea of time and this idea of what, because that's the only, church sometimes doesn't make sense to me, but I love that we can be in community and friendship with people that are different ages than us, because it reminds me that I am neither as young as I think or as old as I think. So can you talk a little bit about how this reading, it's not just about the year, but it's actually about where we are in our lives and our stages. And you joke about the age of your readers, but it is for all people to not be so stuck with where we think that we are.
Yeah, we're not only stuck with where we are. The imaginary that we have of time is that it has a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Right, and you got to stick to
Right, and and so we talk about the flow of time in that sense, that it's a straightforward chronology, and we're going to get to an end, and everything will be clearly resolved, etc. But honestly, after going through, and I was working on this book for 3 years, so circling around the lectionary, thinking about the issue of time for 3 years, and looking at all these different angles on it, I realized, no, I don't think there's any intention at all, anywhere in the Bible, that time should be a line.
Yes.
I think that it is a circle, a spiral, a Mobius strip. It is layers on top of layers. It is stories that inform one another. And then there's, sort of a great mystery that things happen outside of time, very unexpected things. And they enter into our consciousness, and when they do, they actually shift our entire sense of time. So I love playing with the idea of what time really is. I think it's much more mysterious. And it is potentially much more radical. And right now, for some reason, I'm feeling Phil Clayton sort of standing behind me,
is Phil in the room?
Something in my ear. I don't know quite what, but yeah. And so I've really gotten to think about it. It's weird for historians to think about time other than chronology.
Right. Yeah.
Because that's where we're that's our skill set, is to think about the past, the present, and the future. Oh, but I've always been a little bit one who breaks the rules.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Okay, you asked me to talk to you for the first time about your new book, but I didn't write an endorsement. But I prepared my endorsement because I read the book before this conversation, even though I just told Sarah about it and she asked most of the questions. But if I was writing an endorsement, it would be like this. Diana's book has Christian Big Tolkien energy. It reminds me of that moment in Fellowship of the Ring, where Frodo looks at Gandalf, old Jesus, and says, "I wish the ring had never come to me in my time." That was an addition. "I wish none of this had happened." And Gandalf, old Jesus, aka Diana, says, "So do all who live to see such times. But that is not for them to decide. All we have to decide is what we do with the time given to us." And the church's invitation, which is what's going on in this longer passage in Lord of the Rings that I might talk about at the Tolkien session and cry, is the invitation to know that whatever time you're in isn't determining your finitude, but it's an invitation to recognize what's possible. That we're all called to be responsible to others, and we need not pour our anxiety and fear and energy into being responsible for other people's own agency. And Gandalf's response to Frodo, just like Diana's in A Beautiful Year, is to say, trust the process. We've been handed this calendar and this story, and it's someone who is executed by an empire, built a table where the betrayer and denier has a spot, and that means you do too. And I was just like, this guy's big Gandalf energy. So
This is the only room where big
A Beautiful
Gandalf energy
A Beautiful
plays.
Year has that BGE. If all of y'all could tweet that right now. Diana has BGE, big Gandalf, energy. You can get A Beautiful Year.
All right.
That might be one of the nicest things you've ever said to me, Trip.
Well, you're about to say something nice because you're going to benedict us.
Yep.
And remember, before Diana benedicts us, downstairs right after this is group karaoke, continued beverages, and hanging out until 10:30.
Group karaoke. Introverts, I saw you look at the ceiling. Listen,
You
listen.
clearly didn't
You will
pregame.
not be alone in this. One of the things that we heard earlier is we're not meant to read the text alone. We're not meant to sing alone. We're not meant to go through the years alone. And we are not meant to sing karaoke alone.
Oh,
I
no
know.
basket.
Listen, sopranos in the room are like, yes, we are. No, we're gonna do it together
Yeah, and I'm
Yeah.
going to do it in a bunny suit.
in a bunny suit.
right, so everyone stand up.
We're going to stand together.
So you wonder why Trip says to me beforehand, when I came in tonight off of my last event, which was with John Philip Newell.
Yeah, we're a bit
you
different.
have no idea
Similar vibes.
how opposite you and John
Similar
Philip
vibes.
Newell are.
I know.
No, you do know that. Can you do a Scottish accent and kind of like a mystical thing?
I
for
haven't
me?
drank enough to do a Scottish accent, but I have one that's very poor. It sounds like... Never mind. Go ahead.
Okay, well, so anyway, he said that if he did the benediction, you wouldn't take it seriously. And that only if I led the liturgy and asked you to pray would you take it seriously. So isn't that... thank you, Trip. Okay,
All right.
so we're going to...
Receive this benediction. And when a Baptist asks you to do this, go ahead.
Yes.
You got to close your eyes and bow your head, but don't worry, there's no penal.
I thought that's what I was supposed to say.
Substitutionary atonement.
Okay.
You know, one of my favorite things is that when I make those jokes on live streams with Diana, my mom enjoys their facial expressions because she makes the same ones. All right, close
Okay.
your eyes, bow your heads.
Wait,
Diana's doing a benediction.
Okay. Now, I was actually supposed to tell you to close your eyes and bow your heads. So please do that. And think for just a moment about this quest that we're on. So with your heads bowed, with every head in this room bowed, and with your eyes closed, we come not only to the quest, but to the questions. Is this real life? Is this just a fantasy?
See, that was fun. And if you want to hang out with Diana and I this Advent, we're doing an online class together. We're going to be tackling all four Gospels, theological prologues, you could say, the different Christmas stories, the cosmic hymn in John, and the prophetic pop right there at the beginning of the Gospel of Mark. If you want to join us, go to homebrewedclasses.com. And here we go. This is the second half. My conversation with Andy and Cara Root. We got to spend the summer together in Berlin, which I'm going to talk about anyway, so I'm not going to ruin it here. But they have an amazing new book. You know Andy because he comes on all the time. Well, let's just say when he tags team with Cara, things get better. And not just this book being one of my favorites that he's released, but we got to spend a week in Berlin together on the Bonhoeffer trip, and I'm just, with confidence, I'll say Cara is the better half. She made that trip so much better. She facilitated some amazing like kind of reflections and contemplative moments and wove in Bonhoeffer's poetry and songs and stuff. It was kind of spectacular. Well, anyway, Sarah and I had a blast talking to them, and here it goes. I hope you enjoy it.
All right, so brand new book. First off, oh, sorry, I cut off clapping for your new book. But, Cara,
Yes, Trip.
you're married to someone that's written a whole bunch of books. You're like an actual minister, and he writes about it professionally. When he asked you to write a book with him, did you say to yourself, finally, one that will actually matter to real human beings in the world? Or did you say, it might get nuanced a little more and get more specific? Like, deep down, what were you thinking? And it's okay to be honest, especially if it gives Andy a hard time.
Yeah, I actually think the real story is weirder than either of those options. Which is that I was sitting in our kitchen and with my laptop open, and I got an email from our basement. An email. He emailed me he was live in the basement, and it said, "Dear Cara, we're writing a book together. Here's my 40,000 words. Add your own and change whatever you want." And I went, "Andy, can you come here?" And that's how it started.
I didn't know if it would work. So I just worked on it.
went down to the basement?
Yeah.
She said yes to marrying you, having kids, and going on a pilgrimage with them where you rediscovered what is parenting and the invitation of faith for your family on the other side of neoliberal exploitative capitalism, which is what's in the book, and you should get it and check it out. So you didn't know that she might say yes to collaborating with you?
Well, I thought she'd say yes. I just didn't know if this weird idea of a book would work.
And
so.
he wasn't going to say, hey, can we talk about this idea and spitball it? He was going to say, I'm just going to go with this and see what happens.
Why would
I'm imagining you at the stairway, looking around, like you're asking her out for the first time. Like, did she get my email? Did she read it? You think she's gonna read the book? She looks like she's gotta write the book. But it's your own basement, and it is literally your wife. I love it.
Hey, you people have seen, from the podcast, if you've seen the video pieces, that's my little monastic cell in the basement. And she hates it. Like, she will not go in there.
It's so claustrophobic. It's like wall-to-ceiling books with 2 feet of room on either side of you.
Perfect. It makes me feel hugged. Just really close. An escape from the world. Yeah.
Your man cave is literally a cave. I love it.
Yeah. Andy and I met a long time ago on the internet. I think Tony introduced us, or Kinda did, one of them, and then we realized we both have a deep love for a large number of 19th and 20th century Germans, and that we actually read the primary text, unlike a lot of our peers that read articles about them and pretended they'd read it, and that became our little man crush, and that's how I develop introvert friends. Is I look for the ones that read the same books I do, that don't have a lot of friends, so they'll answer and talk to me on the phone for an hour when I have questions. But when Andy, they were working on this book, and I called, and they had just gotten back from the pilgrimage. And you told me this story about your kids are getting older, and you're thinking about being parents, and then you decide, hey, let's have a family pilgrimage.
Yeah, the real story of it is that Kara's the mystic in our relationship. So she wanted to do a pilgrimage. But yeah, Trip, I met you out and about in the world, and the one thing I'm dogmatically committed to, this is, here I stand, I can do no other, is flying Delta Airlines. That's it. That's what I do. And so one of the things I've done with that is try to get miles on one airline. And it's meant my children have been able to see the world because we've cashed in those miles. But we've never had money. We could get somewhere. We could cash in miles and go somewhere, like Paris, but had no money to do anything. So these poor kids, we would just walk them around the city on these death walks because we had no money to do anything else. And so Kara said, hey, we should do a pilgrimage. I want to do a pilgrimage. And I said, well, it's walking, and why don't we take the kids?
The kids know how to do that.
Yep, so we decided to do it, and we planned it. All the details was set to go in summer 2020. And, so we were told that, there's this thing going around, and we just figured by summer, of course, we'll be able to go. So it got postponed until 21, and then Europe opens. But Scotland never opened. And you know this very well, Trip. Yeah.
It's bitter.
So we ended up going and doing it August 22. And it became a real blessing because now our kids, our oldest was a rising senior. And we never expected this. We just decided we wanted to do this. But what it really became was a spiritual walk of letting our kids go and watching our son, who the poor kid has been, we're both oldest children, raising an oldest kid, our oldest son. And so it's just been a triangulation of conflict and battles for control for, those 17 years. He's now 21. And so it really was a kind of walk of what does it mean to kind of let go. But it was also kind of both of us mid-career. And, I don't know if some of you in this room know, the heady times of the 1990s. And we were youth group stars that were told, you're going to save the church. The church needs you. And here we were kind of past mid-career and kind of realizing that maybe we needed to let go of that too. So it becomes kind of this conversation of what it means to maybe loosen the grip in raising children, but also loosening the grip in pastoral leadership. Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
I have to say the title of the book is a pilgrimage into letting go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So go ahead. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, so there's two moments that really stand out when it comes to the parenting moment and sort of the pastoring moment. So one of them was that Owen was out in front of us for half of the time, like sometimes even a mile out in front of us. And there were times when we were in this hillside where he was coming in and out of the fog, and it's just this man with a backpack walking, or it's my little kid. And it harkened back to, viscerally, to teaching him to walk and growing up in Minnesota, going to the mall in the middle of winter, and like the moment where suddenly he finally let go of my hand and didn't look back and just started walking. And the stab of life is going to be watching him walk away from me. And that sort of optical illusion of watching him as a stranger and then watching him as my kid was one of those really, this is an important shift for me. And then the other big piece for us was standing, the pilgrimage ends, this is St. Cuthbert's Way, and it ends on Lindisfarne, which is called the Holy Island off the coast of Scotland, and you wait for the tide to recede, and you walk across the mud flats, and you have to do it right, because if you get stuck out there, there's like these platforms that you can climb up and wait for morning, or you can pay a whole bunch of money for them to come and rescue you, and so you really have to kind of time it. So after this long walk out to the island, we got to this little church, which had been there for thousands?
625, I think.
625. It was founded by Saint Aidan. And in the back of the church was a plaque with the names of every vicar or bishop or a leader that this church had from Saint Aidan in 625 to the woman who's the first woman in the list is the current vicar. And standing there humbled in the sense of like, how dare we think the church is in trouble, or this is some unusual, awful time we're in. Like, the church has been through a lot. So I'm just looking through this list of names and noticing that there's like 300-year gap in this list. When the Viking raiders came and took over the island, and the monks had to dig up Cuthbert's body and flee for 300 years, which is like longer than our country's been around. And then that was like, towards the beginning. And then here it keeps on going and keeps on going and keeps on going. We are part of a really big, long story, and it's not our story.
That's what I was going to say. I love this book because helping parents and pastors embrace the uncontrollable. I think so often those of us who, I was a pastor for 17 years in a local church, and my last one was a revitalization situation. That rhymed. And I really had the sense almost like I was parenting and having to let go at the same time. Like, this is the baby that I'm trying to birth, and also it's going to walk away and do it, and I have no control. So I love that you guys are using parenting, because I'm not a parent of children, and so this sense that like really there is this parallel to be drawn between what it's like to parent a community and what it's like to parent a child, and then you kind of give away the fact that it both involve painful letting go. And the reality of like, I love that idea of like 300 years where we just got to hope for something. And I think it feels like 300 years when your kid isn't doing what you thought they were going to do or how you thought they were going to do it. So I really think it's just a beautiful concept.
So when Andy sends you 40,000 words, this book not only has your story as parents, your reflection as pastors, but as Andy does, he's like, let me find some dead saint, probably from the 6th century, and find a contemporary German sociologist to exegete it. And you said yes. So, Andy, German sociologist, 6th century saint, how did you weave this into 40,000 words with y'all's story as parents and clergy?
Yeah, well, Tripp, I mean, this is a conversation we've had on the podcast a couple of times, thinking about Hart Montrose's work. And you can, this is a theme we've picked up thinking about what it means to do pastoral ministry, or really even what it means to live in modernity. And Rose's point is this German sociologist, and you can listen to Tripp's interview with him from last year. But his whole point is that, he's a sociologist, so he's concerned on what kind of action we need. Sociologists are worried about action, how societies act, how individuals act. And he does think that modernity and the ways we're formed by these systems tend to make us act in a certain way that makes the world itself a point of aggression. That it puts us in this point where we need to control it. And in some sense, it would be absurd for us moderns to try to control the world like we do if we weren't just so damn good at it. We've actually accomplished an incredible amount of being able to control things, but that has made us addicted to control. And he's trying to think of a deeper action that really does connect us, that the problem with this drive towards control or towards acceleration or to constant growth, that it ends up kind of spinning back on us and disconnecting us from the world, depressing us, doing the very things, say, with our children we don't want to do, which is hold them so tightly or hold their future so tightly that we end up never really having a relationship with them. It's all preparation for something else. And so he's thinking of this thing called resonance, this way of resonating with the world. But the big dynamic of resonance, that's the hardest one, is he thinks to have resonance, the key dynamic of it, which really is the ethical core of it, is resonance is always uncontrollable. And if you try to control it, you will destroy it. So to have a kind of relationship that's truly relational means that you have to surrender to a kind of uncontrollable dynamic. And we are just formed as modern people to hate that. And as particularly middle-class people in a late neoliberal capitalist time where we're all our own little businesses and we look at our kids and their futures as hyperly competitive, we feel like the best way to parent them is to control every dynamic before them, and the best parent does that, and then that boomerangs on us and we never feel connected to our kids. So it really is this kind of exploration, and in some ways it's a commentary of this little book he has called The Uncontrollability of the World, but put directly in conversation with parenting, with pastoring, and really for this larger reality of what it means to have resonance, but it's costly in the sense that we have to let go of control.
I'm just imagining getting that email and being like, we're going to address these all go together, and yet they beautifully do form together this idea of you are walking to where your child and your child is walking away. Mm-hmm. We are walking towards what we used to know church to be, and it's walking away. But that doesn't mean that connection is lost, right? It just means that the church, whatever that is, whatever this gathered body will be, whatever your child will be, there is this time where there's space between, where one is becoming and you haven't caught up yet. There's that mist. I love that idea. Even the image on the front cover, there's this mist. And do we not feel like we're in this weird misty time of what the hell is this? You go to church and you're like, I don't know what this is. Or you come to beer camp and you're like, this is in a church, but it feels kind of Jesus-y, but maybe not. I don't know. It's sort of that undiscovered. And so I just really, I love this idea that you have to let go of being a control freak. And we don't like that, do we? Yeah.
And that these moments that actually bring us back to what it means to be human and connected to each other and connected to God, these moments that happen to us that we didn't make happen or happen between us, they're so real and tangible that we almost try to force them to happen. We try to plan the perfect worship service or plan the perfect family outing, and we squish all the possibility of life out of it, because what we really long for is this beautiful thing to happen that we can't make happen. And so what would it be like instead to sort of assume this stance of availability and receptivity and think anything could happen in this moment and I'm going to be here for it, instead of what can I make occur?
Yeah, it's that. I think the two things, when I was growing up, or even when I was in learning to be a pastor, I think that you hear this idea, you don't ever want to hear your parents say, I don't know, but the truth is that's absolutely what you need to hear your parents say. And the same with, we were taught as pastors, many of us, don't ever say, I don't know, when that is what the body is longing for so much. And so thank you for bringing up that theme. Yeah.
So this is Tripp's personal therapy session in one question about a book. about a theologian who wrote a book with his minister wife, a theologian who's married to another ordained clergy person with kids slightly behind yours in age. Okay, okay. So each of them are different, and not all of them are firstborns. You're both firstborns. We spent a week together. You got that firstborn energy where no one has to tell you that there is this drive to succeed and be the best, and you don't have to internalize that because you know that's the expectation of you, and you internalize shame if you don't exceed, accelerate, and do better because you know you have to survive in the world, and you're the only one that's going to give it to you, and no one has to tell you that because there's that internal drive. And then there's the other two.
Imagine being Tripp's therapist. All of us are doing it right now. Go ahead.
And then, like, let's say that you happen to be someone like Andy, and you're like, I love Hartmut Rosa. He has a really big point. Perhaps our entire modern social world has invited us to keep accelerating in the way our economic, social, cultural, and cultural factors all keep making it go faster and faster, and we can't control things. But you know, you have to keep moving faster in order to keep up, and that sucks, and it's sucking the life out of you, and yet you know, you don't know if your kids will have a retirement, health insurance, or your grandkids will have a real life unless they learn how to play the game that's sucking your soul out. So hello, Elgin, Cora, and Haven. I, too, would like you to learn how to burn out while we burn down our institutions and burn up our planet. And if I wanted to do something other than that, will your book solve this problem?
You guys stayed and you weren't ready. We're about to solve all of this.
Yeah, you're welcome, all you parents and grandparents. Andy and Cara.
It will not, but it is for sale at the back.
You're really bad. You're supposed to say it will if they buy 2 copies for their partner.
Yeah, right. I think it is really important to say that this, in some sense, it's like the anti-parenting, obnoxious parenting book, because we don't have. I mean, this is not like 8 bullet points and this is how you avoid this. The way it ends, actually, the way we end the book, but also the way we end the pilgrimage is in Durham, England, where Cuthbert and the Venerable Bede are buried, and we are. Well, first of all, I mean, this is kind of Rose's point, that this is monstrous. Like, the control is so monstrous that we can't even escape it, that if we wanted to, in many ways, we need these systems to function. And so the day before we're going to leave and need to get back for our flight, we find out there might be a train strike. So all of a sudden, I'm anxiously figuring out, how are we going to get back to Edinburgh? And that is like the last chapter of Rose's book, is that we want control so much, and we've created systems of control so much, that when they become uncontrollable, they become incredibly monstrous. Like, we're dependent on them, and this occurs. Well, this ends as we're trying to race back to Edinburgh to make our flight, and Maisie, our daughter, who's not the firstborn, she says, I don't have my retainer. She's lost her retainer, her $400 retainer, somewhere in Edinburgh, and I lose my shit. Like, I lose it and think, $400, I want to go back in time and control, where was it? Why didn't you write your name on the case? Like, we have all of her stuff out and just freaking out about this, and we get on the train, and that's how this thing ends. So in some sense, you can never escape this, and you can only become aware of it and learn to confess. Well, we were just a debate pro or against sin. I'm pro sin because I'm a sinner. And, like yelling at your 14-year-old daughter, where's your damn retainer? $400.
You guys would never do that.
No. So this isn't this is going to solve your problems, other than to say, this stuff just exists in us, this need to control. And in some ways, fronting it allows us to confess it. And I think it puts the most important thing central, which we all know, which is to really have these resonant experiences with one another and find this way of connection. And it does mean we have to kind of rewrite what the good life is, what the good congregation is, what the good parent is. What's a good life?
All right, so Cara, really, how do you feel like that has transformed your idea of ministry or being a pastor, like our role as pastor?
Well, first, I just want to say that I absolutely love being a pastor, because I think what you get to be when you're a pastor is to help a bunch of people just learn how to watch for what God's already doing and join in where you can. I mean, I think that's just it. There's nothing more than that. Also, a parent, right? How do we live in this world knowing that the living God is doing something right at this moment, and we could be part of it? So yeah, I mean, the journey was what it was, but it reinforced this sense that on the flip side of all the sin and negativity is also that life is this incredible gift, and we've all been given one shot at it with each other, and we've been given these people to journey alongside, and this is not a competition, and we are not journeying towards who can be the most successful, and we're not in this apart and against. We're meant to be here with and for each other. And so how do we do that? How do we do that in the concrete daily life with one another? And to see it as a pilgrimage, that this isn't an arrival. We're never going to get somewhere. We're just going to keep walking alongside of each other. And guess what? The living God is walking with us. So what's better, honestly? How lucky are we?
Okay, that was beautiful. Thank you both so much for joining us.
Oh, that was fun. And can I ask you one? The cutest thing that happened when we were in Berlin, Andy's giving his tour around Berlin, and Cara and I are in the back because someone was back, and it was setting up his banality of evil joke. Oh, yeah. And Cara's like, you need to pay attention. This is one of his favorite parts of the week. So you should tell this joke, because they will make them want to come hang out with us in Germany in a year or so.
I feel like the joke might have meant more to you, Trip, than us. I'm not sure what joke you're referring to.
Okay, so, no, I thought this was so funny. I told multiple of my friends, so we're going through Germany. Like, we just, the big thing with that wall. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
When we go past
this is his favorite part of the tour.
This is like looking at other people's, when you look at like slides and here's when we went to, this is what we're experiencing.
Trip's right.
In an audible version.
Trip's right.
This is when I was like,
thing.
this is she really appreciates his nerdiness because she wanted me to appreciate the deep cut.
I got you.
Okay.
Yeah, so I do this, amazing tour of Berlin, if I do
high
say
quality.
so myself, which we go by there's this hotel, and it's a very famous hotel because the journalist, William Shire, stayed in this and then would go to the Wilhelmstrasse and hear, all the press briefings and everything. And so I have everyone kind of eating out of my hand, and they're in, mid-1930s Berlin. And I also say we had one thing we really discovered at this hotel. We got verification of it. We did get verification that Michael Jackson was crazy, because this was the hotel that Michael Jackson held blanket out of the balcony to all of his fans below. And that's what Trip likes the best. That was his favorite part of the whole week.
Could you imagine an hour-and-a-half tour of play-by-play of the rise of Nazism, the German church and resistance, and homeboys ready to set up a Michael Jackson joke? And Cara was like, it's coming. This is his favorite part. And I thought, she really loves him.
You see how hard they laughed at the joke. I
Y'all
mean, it's
think
so
that's
incredibly funny. I mean,
oh, geez, y'all should have drank more. Anyway, thank you both.
Thank you guys so much.